All right, I'm Jeremiah McConan,
I'm Gabriel Ritchie.
and here we are, episode one of the Hoop Chat. Gabe, here we go, man. We're about to. I mean, not we can say I think now it's the quarter mark season for the NBA season, like as far as like the length. So now we can really
Right.
start getting into it,
Yeah.
start having like legit points and takes that'll make sense. That's not based off, the first two October games.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why we just started this pod, just so we can give y'all more NBA thoughts. Because there's always so much to talk about with this league,
Yeah,
on
we
the
always
main
have to cut our
show.
basketball talk short.
Right. Yeah. On the main show, we'll do like a Celtic segment or two or something major, but we'll still have like 10 other thoughts that we're texting about throughout
Right.
the whole week. So
Yeah.
here we go.
People are
Here's
like,
like
what do you mean you cut your basketball talk short? You go on for 2 hours about like the
about the
Warriors and
Celtics
Nets alone.
rotation facts. But yeah, man, this is for the junkies out there. And maybe we might attract some new fans too. But
Right.
yeah, Gabe, we should start with the West. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean the Wild Wild West, it's starting to pick up. This was a interesting week in the Western Conference because I didn't even know. All right, so of course I knew they played that Tuesday night on TNT. Was it Tuesday night? I'm pretty sure.
The first
The
Suns and
first
Warriors
game, the
game.
first Suns and Warriors game.
Yeah, I think it was a Tuesday. Yeah.
It was a Tuesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then I was like, okay, that's a huge game. I didn't know they played a few days later. And that was just really cool to see. And of course, they both split. They both went at home. The Suns get the best of the Warriors first. They give the Warriors their third loss of the year. Keep all of a sudden those teams are at equal playing field. The Warriors get the Suns right back the next game and snap their 18 game winning streak. Was it 18 or 19?
Yeah, 18.
Yeah, so really like all I can tell from that is that both of these teams are really good, and the quality of basketball we saw, even though that first game, which I do want to get to, even though they looked great last night, the quality of basketball between these two teams was fantastic, regardless of the Warriors turnover issue in that first game, at least.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like you nailed it. These are the two most important teams in the West. These are the two teams that we should really be focusing on at this point of the season. I think out of all the Western Conference teams, and honestly, probably out of all the two teams in the league that have
The
like
league.
their identity figured out,
Mm-hmm.
because even Brooklyn and Milwaukee, they just got healthy. We'll get into those two teams later, but those, when it comes to like who really understands who they are as a team, you look at Phoenix and Golden State, and you have to say those are the two teams at the top of the list. Phoenix, like you said, just fresh off an 18-game win streak, 19-4 on the season. They gave Bridges the contract, and
Yeah.
he's been worth every penny, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's been so awesome. I know you started the fan club last year.
Yes.
It was probably your
My Twitter
first
handle for a
first
while.
member. Yeah. Man, he's just so awesome. And of
Yeah.
course they have Booker. I know Booker just got hurt in that last game with the hamstring, which sucked because he was playing really well. But him and Ayton have both taken leaps this season. Bridges looks great. CP3, man. I mean, he's still doing
Ageless
it.
one.
And
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I kind of had doubts coming into the season for him. I'm like, man, they had a long season, finals run. They didn't win. Like, it's always tough when you lose in the finals, of course. He's what, 35, 36. So I'm like, man, I thought going into it, it's going to be a lot of Booker maybe running the show, CP3 taking another step back. But now, man, he he has been the forefront of this machine. They're third in defense. When you watch them, they're always in sync. Aiton's protecting the rim. Bridges. It was like the first Warriors game. It's like they started the Western Conference already. We had game 1 and 2 in 1 week. But the first Warriors game, they just threw Bridges on Curry. And, Curry is great. Great players are going to have those one weird nights a month, maybe every 2-3 months. They'll have a one just off night.
Right.
But that's not to take away credit from Bridges, who was all over him, making it so hard.
And their game plan in general.
Yeah.
And just the long wings. Though that's how you kind of deal with Curry. It's, of course, you're never going to stop him. And part of it was he was having a bad night. But part of the reason he was having a bad night is because of the long athletic wings that they have on Phoenix that can defend him, whether it be Bridges or even Cam Johnson, or sometimes Ayton gets out there.
Yeah.
And of course, you only have so many, with Curry versus a center, you only have so much time for that to work. But as the shot clock's winding down and Curry doesn't have time to really make a move, Aiden's the perfect guy to come out there. He had a shot jumper block twice in that first game. It was really impressive. And going back to what you said about Chris Paul, yeah, man, he's entering that LeBron Brady territory where I just got to say, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm done predicting. Not that I haven't really came at him or anything, but I'm not going to go out predicting that, oh yeah, this is him falling off the cliff. This is the season he's going to fall off the cliff. I'll believe it when I see it. The Suns look fantastic. I gave them our Western Conference preview. I was hyping them up with T. I don't think they were a great team last year too, and they really got hot. They're a great team in the bubble.
Yeah.
And they literally won every game and still missed the playoffs, but they've gotten better and better as the years grown. And this is like, we'll see, man, because the Warriors look really good too, but this Suns team's picking up right where they left off. And, Simmons said this a week ago, like a couple things go differently in the Milwaukee series. They might be champs. And also, what do you want? Giannis had an outer body experience.
Right. He's an all-time guy. It's not much.
It's just really impressive. They're not this random NFL buy-in, Rams 2019 or Falcons versus the Pats. Yeah. These are teams coming to mind. They weren't just a buy-in now. Like it's now or never. It wasn't that type of team. Like they're going to be good for a while, especially if Chris Paul keeps drinking from the fountain of youth.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And that's probably why, I was watching the Inside Guys. I think it had to be the Tuesday game. Yeah, because that's when they played. Right. And Barkley was like, oh, why are the Suns? Because, he played for Phoenix, and it was definitely that was driving why he was having to sort of take with all the emotions behind him. He was like, oh, we always talking about Golden State and Brooklyn and and why is no one talking about the Suns? And to be honest, he's right. Kenny, like he's right, and Kenny kind of hinted towards this because we kind of expected this with Phoenix. I think the reason why we're talking about Golden State so much is because nobody expected them to be this.
Because wait till Clay comes back, they'll sneak in the playoffs, and then they might have Clay and blah blah right. blah. They're a fucking juggernaut.
They're a juggernaut, bro. It's crazy.
They're like almost a little bit funner. They're funner to watch than the Suns for me. Not that the Suns aren't fun to watch. Both of these teams are fun to watch, and we both agreed through text that this is the Western Conference Finals. At least we hope it is.
As of now,
barring any chicanery or injury, like these are the two best teams in the West. These are the two best rosters that were prepared before the season. The Lakers had their defensive guys last year, and they let them go for Russell Westbrook.
How's that treating y'all Laker fans?
Yeah, and then of course the Clippers, they're kind of out of commission this year. George has done a good job keeping them afloat, but they are. We don't have high hopes for them. And then
hit or miss, yeah.
I wasn't as high on Dallas as everybody else was. So like this does look like a Western Conference preview. And real quick, like I said before we got on air, I saw a tweet from Rob Perez, the WOB guy that be on Twitter that like
worldwide
all over my feed. Yeah, worldwide WOB.
Yeah.
He said this was 6 days ago, so it's changed slightly, but 5 teams in the Western Conference are above 500. And I'm like, yeah, they're all losing to Golden. There's 2 powerhouses in the West right now, at least in terms of being a regular season powerhouse. There's 2 of them right now. So that's not just one team that you have to see multiple nights in a 3 or 4 week span. That's 2 of them. So you're just piling up L's there. You're just adding extra L's, guaranteed L's to the teams in the Western Conference's schedule. Yeah. So it's obvious, but it's 100%. Not just record wise. It's not just record wise. It's like they are the 2 best teams. They look the best.
It's
eye test wise. It's like I see issues with every other team besides them. And of course they have their own issues slightly, but not to the degree of other teams. Like these other teams are much more works in progress than the Warriors.
For sure. And yeah, you mentioned it, like the reason why all the other teams are under 500 or whatever is because of those 2 teams. And even throughout that one, especially for Golden State, we can give their flowers a little bit here now. They had a win against Chicago where they destroyed Chicago, remember? And everyone, Chicago was kind of on a hot streak, and it was like, okay, Levine, DeRozan, Lonzo, here we go.
Yeah.
Can they come into the Chase Center, do something? No.
I remember I was when
20 piece. Yeah. 20 piece blowout. They came into Brooklyn where It got to a point where the opposing
Yep.
fans are cheering for the Warriors
For
and
Steph.
Curry.
Meanwhile, KD is on
Yeah.
the floor.
KD and Harden are both on the floor. I mean, they didn't even play the fourth quarter. That game was over in a
It was
wrap.
over quick.
And then they had the win against Phoenix last night. So like throughout this run, of course,
A
they beat
commanding win
the
versus
Lakers
Phoenix.
to start
A
the season.
commanding
Yeah,
win.
right, commanding win. And yeah, they don't have Booker, but still, they don't have Clay or Wiseman.
Right.
So
You always have to throw that in. Like it's not
yeah,
Klay Thompson's
it's not no little
the Celtics missing Jaylen Brown.
right.
He's not he's not so and so missing. He's not Indiana last year missing Karis LeVert.
Yeah,
This is Klay Thompson. This is like probably the second greatest, third greatest shooter of all time.
this is the Klay Thompson who single-handedly ripped Oklahoma City to shreds in Game 6.
Yes,
with Durant and Westbrook on that
like,
team.
Yeah,
he's a guy.
He's very confident. He's very confident that he's going to be that dude when he comes back. So we're not just like Warriors fans when we're saying like, in mind you, they don't have Klay Thompson back yet, and they're
exactly. Yeah, man. I mean, they're just so fun to watch. I mean, some people they say don't look at the numbers too much, but when the numbers and the eye test matches, I think that's when you can use numbers. And when you look at it, they're second in offense, they're first in defense.
Yeah.
They have Draymond Green, who we have our slights with. He's definitely a flawed guy.
Yeah, and I want to get into the issues in that first game because it was sort of like a microcosm of what the issue is with that whole team.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I will say that offensively, he still has they'll leave him like 10 feet wide open for three, and he'll still make a pass or try to force a pass when it's not there. But defensively, I have to say he's probably the defensive player of the year for me. He's always and it's not even like athleticism that's separating him from the pack defensively. It's his IQ. Like he's anticipating these passes. He had a couple in the last game. I think he had 6 steals last night against Phoenix. Yeah. It's just him just knowing where to be on defense.
The quarterback of the defense.
Yeah, there was even this one special play.
Yeah.
Seriously, there was this one special play against the Nets when KD was coming down, and he was, gonna take the pick and get Draymond off of him. And Iguodala was guarding him, and Draymond was guarding, I think, Blake Griffin, whoever the hell set the pick. KD comes, denies the pick, and like goes the other way. Iguodala falls for that fake. Draymond saw the fake and immediately recovered. And then Iguodala saw Draymond recover and was like, oh shit, he got my back. Let me get to his guy. And he was able to get onto Blake, and they kind of messed up KD's flow. And it was like a mistap possession. And you see Draymond fist pump, and you see Iguodala fist pump. And it's like, that's the type of shit where I think the type of value that Draymond brings to the team defensively. And as far as chemistry, that it really is unmatched. And they have Gary Payton Jr., who's just a nut. Man, I seriously think anyone like on the perimeter, as far as defenders, he has to be at the top of the list. I know that might sound crazy, but bro, he's like strapping guys down full court too. It's like he's a high school varsity juggernaut. It's stupid what he's doing.
It's impressive to see. I have him written down. Yeah, GP2. I just have written down GP2. Wow.
Yes.
This fucking crazy bounce.
Facts.
Yeah, I mirror everything you said with the defense. Jordan Poole has the ultimate green light for a guy of his stature and time spent in the league. I think he's a future all-star.
I agree.
Sometimes he's taking shots and it's like, all right, come on, bro. You're not Steph. But a lot of times they go in too. And he's just gonna get better and better. Every time I bring up Jordan Poole, I'm gonna give you props for not just hyping him up before the season, but hyping him up towards the end of last season too. Long leash for Jordan Poole. Kerr just lets him do whatever he wants, and it's working out for them because look at their record. Draymond though, great defender, sloppy stuff on offense. Steph too. A lot of the other guys on this team, but Draymond, for the most part, just some of these passes, they're not there at all, and these turnovers add up. And it's like, how many points they lose the first game by? Like 9 or 10 or 11, something that.
Yeah.
With the amount of turnovers they threw, if they just took their time on some of those plays, they win the game. Which I guess is a good thing and bad thing, because if they clean that up, then it's like, okay. Looney, that's an issue. I've never seen a guy that tall. He makes Rudy Gobert look like Hakeem Olajuwon around the net, bro. Like I've never seen a guy just like the net's right there. And I know it's ignorant of me to saying this isn't good basketball analysis, but like if you're that tall, I don't care who's in front of you, like just put it in the hoop, just dunk. And
Nah,
this
for
guy,
real.
like, he looks like he has feet for hands. Uh, every time I see him mess up, I'm like, what? Like he does stuff that's so bad that it catches my eye.
Yeah,
That
it's
like
like
I'll
you
be looking
remember
down
it.
and I'll be like, whoa, what the hell? Oh, it's
Right.
Looney. That's something they might have to fix or think about going down the line, especially if like a team like the Lakers, who have a bunch of tall guys who know what
Right.
they're doing. Like if they get their act together, watch out. Uh,
Mhm.
when your best line of defense is Looney. Bielitsa isn't the guy I thought he was
He's
the
cooled
first
off.
game, but
Yeah,
he's cooled off, but he's still like makes the right plays. And he's a guy I think they're not using to his full potential right now, but when the time comes in the playoffs, I think he's gonna be a major player for them.
for sure.
And yeah. And then on back to Phoenix, Aiton's one of my favorite players, and we might do this segment next week. Our top 5 favorite players to watch in the league right now. Not who we think are best, but our favorite players to watch. Aiton's on my list, and he's probably the only big man on my list right now. But the dude is just so good.
He is.
He's just so he just knows exactly what to do. He's fundamentally
Yeah.
sound.
He had
He's
a
not
play
an
yesterday.
yeah, he's not an athletic freak or anything in terms of jumping out the gym or
Yeah,
whatever or crazy highlight plays, but he's always in the right place. He seems like a guard's dream. And maybe
for
that's because
sure.
he's been molded by Chris Paul. But
Exactly.
yeah,
He had a play yesterday
fantastic
where
defense.
CP threw a lob to him and he caught it and he was still in the air and he saw the rotation guy coming. He just zipped it to a corner for I think it was
Yeah.
Bridges who hit the three. And it's like, wow, man, there's not a lot of bigs who could just think that quickly
And
in
he's
that
still
moment to
younger in
make
his
that
career.
pass. Yeah, he
And
is.
it's, everybody gives them shit for not taking Luca, but you
But
never
they
know.
and they had Booker. Like I kind of defend Phoenix in that I obviously Luka's going to be an all-time guy. We all know this, probably top 10 if he stays healthy.
Yeah.
But if you're Phoenix, like you already have Booker, who's kind of a ball dominant guy. And like in their minds, they're probably thinking, all right, we just got to compliment Booker. We got to get someone who can get us some work down low and Aiton. So I know it's bad when you look back at it, seeing how great Luka's going to be, but I don't totally kill them for taking Aiton over Luka.
Yeah, and they took Aiton. They took like the best player out of the NCAA that year.
Right.
They didn't take Alfred Payton over Luka Doncic. They didn't take Anthony who who's the guy that Cleveland Anthony Bennett
Oh,
that Cleveland took. They didn't
yeah.
take him over Luka Doncic. Like it's not a complete L. They didn't take Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic. So like, and
Sacramento.
they've been to the finals one more time. They have multiple playoff wins at this point.
They've been to
Wins
the finals
three.
before Luka in
Yeah,
the Aiton
that's what I'm
timeline.
saying. And they've won playoff series, which Luka has yet to do in
Yeah,
Dallas.
it's a fair
So
point. Very fair point
I'm not kicking myself for that if I'm Phoenix.
for sure. Yeah, real quick with the Warriors, and then I guess we could wrap up our Western Conference talk
Yeah.
after this.
Mhm.
So they have Poole, who we both like, who's great.
Yes.
Clay's gonna come back. If
Mhm.
you're Golden State, are you obviously Clay's a starter? We know that,
Yes.
but do you start Clay right away? Do you move Poole back to the bench and like just throw Clay right in? Are you easing Clay back? Maybe
I'm
like
easing
what's the
Clay
approach
back.
with that?
It
Okay,
was he's crazy. He hasn't played basketball in forever at the
like
level of NBA.
900 days, I think it's
And I'm hearing
ridiculous.
good things about his recovery and him in practice. And
Yeah,
he hit the game winner in a scrimmage. I still ease him back because of the length of time he's missed.
right.
And I keep Jordan Poole starting. But eventually, me personally, in I guess the traditional sense, Poole is much closer to a player of Steph than Clay. So just having Poole come off to the bench, like think
Makes more
about it. You're
sense.
guarding
Yeah.
Steph, you're exhausted. Steph finally gets a breather. You're
Here
like, sweet,
comes
he's out of the game. Here comes Jordan Poole. So
23-year-old
like,
Jordan Poole. Yeah.
right, that sounds a lot more devastating than them trying to figure out Poole. Maybe they can. If anybody can, it's the Warriors, but them trying like having all three of them start.
Yeah.
Obviously, Steph is starting, but having Clay and Poole start,
They may
that
close
might be
some
a
games like that, but
yeah,
starting, I'm with you.
right. Or have them all on the floor at the certain times of the game. But yeah, eventually I would have Poole coming off the bench, but not immediately.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And like another thing that I think we should think about with the Warriors is the Wiseman piece.
Mm.
Because, we talk about how bad Looney is. I think
Yeah.
Golden State wants Wiseman to come back and take those Looney minutes. I think they're just dying for that to happen. But
Mm.
of course, we saw last year is when they benched Wiseman. Golden State went 15-5 to end the season, or not
Right.
benched Wiseman, but Wiseman got injured. Okay, you're injured now. We're definitely not going to play you. But he's going to come back too, and he's a guy where he still has trade value because we haven't seen much, so there's still the potential there. But at the
Yeah.
same time, with
Who are they
the
trading him for,
little,
you know?
that's the thing. Yeah, with the
It's
little
kind
things we
of
did see,
the
it's
best
like
case with him
it
is
was
what they
rough.
need. The best case with him is what they need. And
Yeah,
I don't think it's his skill that needs work. I think it's him adapting to the speed and difficulty of playing in the NBA opposed to college
and especially in that Warrior
or in high
system,
school. Because like, did he even play in college? Wasn't he the guy who like missed
barely.
a whole year? He went to
Yeah,
Memphis, right?
he
And
played
then
like
like,
2 preseason games and was out. I think
yeah, so
suspended or some
it's
shit.
definitely like I wouldn't quit on Wiseman just yet.
Mm.
Um,
I'm leaning towards
that's
that
another
too.
guy I wouldn't quit on. Like Aiton.
Yeah,
Let's go to Aiton. Aiton wasn't the guy he is now, even a year ago.
good point.
So I'm not quitting on a young center who knows his way around the basket and can do a bunch of different things. Who was the number one pick in the draft? I'm just not quitting on him yet. It's
Yeah,
too early. You already have a good team. I wouldn't shotgun him, and I don't think they will. I wouldn't shotgun him for who would you even trade him for? What package would you do? I know me personally, I'm the guy who said Wiseman three team deal that involves Draymond and Wiseman leaving and Ben Simmons coming. But the way they look right now, is that needed? No, I don't think so.
yeah. No, I agree with you 100% on this. I think if I'm Golden State, when Wiseman's ready to come back, ease him into it, similar to how you're doing Clay, but for different reasons, obviously. I think you ease Wiseman into it, maybe play him with Jordan Poole and have Curry like on the bench. Because I think part of why Wiseman struggled last year was he just was not ready for that Golden State cut, pass, roll, like constant moving, especially
Right.
for a guy like you said. He didn't play in college. We really only have his high school career to look at as far as like a length of season play from him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's 19 years old. That system is really
He's
complex. It's a
19. Is
concept.
he
Probably
still
20
19?
now. He's
I was gonna say,
the Tatum
regardless, he's
joke.
not even
He's
drinking. Yeah, the
19.
Tatum. Yeah,
He's
good.
19, or he's only
He's not even
19.
drinking age yet, dude.
Right.
Like, think about
He's so young,
yourself at
man.
that age.
Right.
Anybody who
Exactly.
talks about basketball, anybody
Right.
in the world who talks about basketball who might have the opposite of opinion of us right now, like, think about you at that age. Like, I'm 24. I still haven't figured anything out. And like,
Same.
we're asking this guy to be Shaquille O'Neal or something. Like, it's just not going to happen yet. Again,
Exactly.
example, Aiton, you know, it
Yeah.
can work. Similar situations too. Aiton,
Yeah.
1 year at Arizona, had a suspension early in his career, like rough start to his career. And
Mm-hmm.
now, you know, I'm just not in the business of judging guys under the age of like 24. I'm just not, or at least
That's
like
the right way
23,
to. That's the right
depending
way to go
on,
about it.
unless it's really jarring. Like
Unless the hype is like given to you on
exactly,
some LeBron
unless it's
coming out of
super
high school
jarring.
shit,
Yeah.
then we might judge a little bit more harsher.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm with you 100%, man. Very good point in bringing up the Wiseman comparisons because they're even similar players too. Long, lanky, athletic, could kind of move up and down the court and do things on both sides of the ball. At least that's what we hope for Wiseman. We see the tools. We still have to see him put it together. But yeah, man, you can't give up on him. If I'm Golden State, have him play minutes with Poole, maybe ease him into the Curry,
Yeah.
Draymond, fast-paced roller coaster that those guys run. Ease him into it, see how it goes, and yeah, man, just play it out because
Yeah.
he does have some tantalizing things about him
He had
that
moments last year.
yeah, he
He
really
had some
did.
moments.
So I guess that can wrap up our Golden State talk. The two
Yeah.
rookies this year for them, Kaminga and Moody, not much to talk about there.
Yeah.
I hate to end it on a sour note for Golden State, but man, imagine if they just drafted LaMelo and instead of Kaminga, they got Wagner, who's on Orlando balling.
Mhm. Yeah. Basketball is all about fits. And I know
Yeah.
anybody could really fit in the Warriors offense. Not everybody can fit in the Warriors offense, actually, because look at they
Last year
didn't
we
want
saw it
Russell. They didn't want
with
D'Angelo
Oubre.
Russell. Yeah, and
Yep.
Oubre, like they didn't want. Not everybody can. So I think it's all about fits. And if I'm the Warriors, I'm cooling. I don't
Yeah.
think having LaMelo Ball increases your chances at winning an NBA championship, at least at this point in the career. And you already have Jordan Poole and you have Gary Payton II. And I think that's the future for your franchise.
Yeah.
I'm cooling it right now. And
Yeah.
again,
They shouldn't be regretting it,
I'm
but
not judging
the what if
anybody.
is crazy.
I'm not in the business of judging kids younger than whatever age. And it's just, you're more often than not, you're going to get it wrong on that. So
Right.
take anything we say when it comes to young players with a grain of salt. And that doesn't just go for us. That goes for anybody, really.
Seriously.
And you say ended on a sour note?
Yeah, I just say because you're right. It's there's nothing for them to look back on and regret because they're the number one team in the Western Conference without Klay Thompson or Wiseman.
Yeah.
But I just think about, man, imagine LaMelo going the way he plays up and down, fast pace. It just seems like he would fit into that system. He would get it. Like he would get what Kerr's trying to do.
But the defense, the defense, which is what this defense, this is a defensive minded Warriors team. This isn't the Splash Brothers, and that is not LaMelo Ball.
It's not LaMelo, not yet at least. Because I'll say Wiggins also was a wreck defensively, but once he got to Golden State, I think Draymond getting into his ear. Maybe that happens with LaMelo, but not in his first 2, maybe even 3 years of being in the league. Yeah. But yeah, man, all that being said, they're the number one team in the West, and none of us expected it. Not even who was really high on them.
In terms of the Western Conference in general, I kind of touched on it at first. We don't need to spend too much time on them. We're not going to because they've just been ran through by these 2 powerhouses.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll probably do, and guys, if you're listening to this, the Hoop Chat, please subscribe also, if you haven't already, to the Richie and Mecco Connection, the flagship podcast of us.
Main campus.
We'll be back there. We talk football, we talk everything, but we talk a lot of basketball on there too. Mm-hmm. We talk about so much basketball that we had to make a second podcast for it, the Hoop Chat. But you'll hear us talk more about the Celtics and the Lakers and all the stuff that,
all the mainstream storylines, Ben Simmons
storylines. Yeah, we'll get into that. But in terms of the Western Conference in general, they've all been ran through. The Grizzlies look good at points, but then they lose John Morant.
Brutal.
Yeah, like I said, we still don't know with a lot of these other teams, and I don't see anybody else.
Real quick, on John Morant, real quick, because same thing last year. The Grizzlies was rolling, and he gets injured again.
It's the way he plays.
So I was going to ask you, is it his play style that's really,
of course it is,
putting him in his danger? Yeah.
He dunks it with his teeth instead of just laying it in every time down. He tries to jump 10 feet in the air and whatnot. And he's playing a million miles an hour. I love to watch him. He's one of my favorite players to watch. Hopefully we get to see him when we go to the game in February and March when they come to Boston.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Grizzlies. And then just, the Western Conference in general, I really only see 3 teams. I'm never going to count out LeBron. So I really am only thinking about 3 teams, and it's the Suns, Warriors, and Lakers. And I really wish I didn't have to say that about the Lakers, but you just never know what they're going to pull off. They always know how to pull some strings, not just the Lakers, but LeBron too.
Well, we'll get into it in another show, but man, I have a lot of thoughts about that team. But yeah, man, I guess we can transition into the Eastern Conference, which, man, is the East better than the West nowadays? Because us, when we were growing up, it was always the West. They had the Spurs, Kobe, and the Lakers, of course, Dallas, Phoenix.
And it's been trending this way.
Most of those teams are still kind of good.
It's been trending this way, record-wise and like strength-wise, ever since LeBron left the East. It's been trending this way in terms of who's more difficult. So like
Ron running from the Heat.
Let me think. So we're only worried about the Warriors and Suns in the West at this point in time, at least.
Yeah.
Like the Mavs are up there too, but the Mavs are like the 5 seed. Let's say let's say for a benchmark. Like,
I love how you just disregarded Utah, by the way, which I'm totally on board with.
Last night, Utah beat the Celtics last night because they literally were making the most ridiculous step back threes ever. Everybody on their team. That's how they win the games. But when you see it every night in the playoffs, and I think I tweeted this, when you see it every night in the playoffs, that's what is the easiest to figure out. Facts. Their game plan is just not it. And the fact that they had to the Celtics team is still struggling. The fact that Utah had that kind of trouble with them in the first place on a night where they're that hot
with no
is a
JB.
testament to them, right? With no Jared. Yeah, but that's the Celtics in general. No,
Yeah,
with no Jaylen Brown.
We'll get into them another time.
But yeah, Utah is Utah the 4 seed?
I think so.
Or
they might be the 3 seed actually.
Yeah. So like Utah, I don't think they're better than Brooklyn. I don't think they're better than Milwaukee. I don't think they're better than Miami. Are they better than Chicago? Are they better than?
It's up for debate. Those teams, it's up for debate. Like Chicago, Atlanta's, Phillies.
Yeah. In the East, literally for years was just the Cavaliers. Or just the Heat.
It was the Cavaliers, and it was that one Cap team that won a bunch of games like Atlanta. But they weren't really.
But that's what I'm saying. Nobody feared them. But you could literally see the Heat coming out of the Eastern Conference. I mean, we have seen it. The Wizards are doing great. The Bucks are doing great. Cleveland, we're going down 6, 7, 8 seed. Cleveland, Hornets, Sixers. Those are 3 teams that could beat most teams in the NBA on any given night. And we're at the end of the playoff picture. Celtics in the 9, and Knicks fans.
Oof.
Bing bong, you're 11 and 12. You are currently the 11th seed. You would not be making the playoffs right now. It's looking. You guys, a week ago we said they've come back to earth, and it's not just that they came back down. They've come crashing down, and are getting the full Kemba Walker Evan Fournier experience.
Facts
that we know so well here in Boston.
Yep. Yeah, man. No, you're right, man. The East is so much more loaded than the West these days. And I guess we'll start with the king of the East, even though they're 5th right now in the conference.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to start with Brooklyn and call them the king of the East.
No. I mean,
I was like, they're not up by 8 games. They're like 1 point. They're 1.5 games ahead of the Bulls right now.
Yeah, no. Brooklyn. We'll get to them next after Milwaukee because they're so much problems with that team. That 15-6 record, trust me, it is not the real 15-6 that you would think it is. But Milwaukee, 14-9, 5 seed. They started off the season kind of slow. Guys were in and out. Holiday was out. Middleton was out. Giannis was out. And then they finally got dudes healthy around like early November. They reeled off, 8 of their last 9 wins. Wasn't against great teams, but good teams are going to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. And it's not like they have to prove anything. They literally just won the championship. But yeah, man, just another team that I think they're the 5 seed right now, but we're going to blink and we're going to look next month and they're probably going to be number 2.
Yeah.
Giannis, it looks like he's gotten even better, which I don't even know how that's possible.
Right. Those were 2 really good teams in the playoffs last year, guys. Okay. Those are 2 really good teams in the finals. Those might have been the best 2 teams. KD was the best player, but I mean, come on. And I said this last year. Yeah, they were missing. Harden was on 1 leg. Look at him this year on 2 legs. And Kyrie, you just never rely on Kyrie in the playoffs.
Never rely on Kyrie.
Not making excuses. The Bucks got better as the playoffs went on, yes, but also like the 2 best teams, arguably the 2 best teams in the league, did in fact meet, regardless of circumstance, did in fact meet in the finals last year, and they're proving it this year. And Jay, our very first podcast ever, Richie and Mecco connection, Richie and Mecco experience. This is what it was called, the week 1.
Right.
I asked you, who'd you rather have, Jaylen Brown or Chris Middleton? And it was an interesting question at the time, but most people are resounding Jaylen Brown was their answer. Would you change your answer today?
100%. And it's simply off the fact that Middleton was a legit number 2 on a championship team next to an all-time number 1. And he took care of business, and he's a big reason why
things that Giannis can't.
Right, exactly. He was able to, a lot of times it was Middleton who was initiating the offense, coming up, pick and roll, setting up Giannis for the buckets, or getting his little mid-range, which, man, that mid-range game of his is up there as far as, I think it's KD is on another planet, and CP3 might be on another planet with him as far as the mid-range game. But guys right under him, Middleton is on that next level. DeRozan, guys like that, so money, man. Like, that's their bread and butter. So yeah, man, Middleton for sure. He proved it that he can be a number 2 on a championship team. Jaylen right now is injured again.
He's always injured. He's always injured, and
it's starting.
He wasn't early on his career, which is why he doesn't have that stigma around him that past players on the Sixers have had. And other
Right.
guys in the league who are constantly hurt. But even injured or not, like it's just Middleton's just been consistent when they need him, and Brown hasn't. And
Hmm.
Middleton's not that much older than Jaylen Brown. So I kind of leaned Middleton last year. I think I did. Maybe I'm just
Yeah.
rewriting history.
And I think you did.
I'm definitely with Middleton in the Middleton camp after the finals, and then just not this year, just not completely picking up where he left off. Of course, he's not always consistent. That's why he's not a number one. He's a number two, but
Right.
he's a championship number two. He's number two on a finals team, which is a lot better than a number two on a 9 seed.
Exactly. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean the Bucks, I'm not worried about them. Their other guys are looking healthy now. They have a lineup of Holiday, Grayson Allen, by the way, who's been a great signing for them. They
Yeah,
had the DiVincenzo injury, and it kind of looked like, man, where are we going to get that production from that shooting guard spot? Grayson Allen just fulfilled that role and probably exceeded expectations for them, honestly. But yeah, when they throw out Holiday, Allen, Middleton, Giannis, and Portis, they're 120 points per 100 possessions, which is just they're guaranteed. That's a guaranteed bucket.
yeah,
Um, and they're allowing 97.4 points on defense, which is, basically above average, really good. They're starting to trend top 10 in both offense and defense as they get healthy. They had that wild game against the Hornets 2 nights ago when they were down 18 and LaMelo was just making the craziest shots, and then they
yeah,
stormed back and they had the game winning play. Basically, yeah, essentially was the game winner was Giannis at the top of the key, and Middleton I think set a pick for him, and Giannis just rolled. And it's like, man, if you get Giannis going with momentum towards the basket with a free lane, like I don't care if it's Kareem that's about to rotate and try to meet him at the rim, that's not getting stopped. And it
yeah,
was, he got the bucket, game winner, and Milwaukee wins. He continues to show his dominance. Yeah, man, they're a good team. They're a well-oiled machine. They're gonna be right back there in the thick of it. I know they're the 5 seed now, but that means nothing.
yeah.
They're just as good as last year, if not better.
Right. And a 5 seed that is not completely where they will be, and are still a 5 seed in a pretty tough Eastern Conference at this point in time, at least.
Yeah, they just signed
Uh,
Boogie Cousins too. Shout out Boogie.
right. Which we'll see how that goes.
It's probably gonna
It
be
never works
nothing.
out with it. It just
Yeah,
never works out with him. I'm sorry.
he's gonna have one game where he has 2 technical fouls. He might get into a fight. You'll see a
Yeah.
bunch of posts about him on Twitter that night, and then you'll see Boogie has been released by Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
Change the
He
tweet.
might not be there for the next 2 months.
Yeah, how sad is that though? Real quick on Boogie, man. Remember him in Sacramento?
Yeah. When he was like
He was so good.
20, he had more points in a game than they would have wins in a season.
Yes, for real. It literally would. He was. I missed the old Boogie. But yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts you have on Milwaukee?
No, I pretty much stated all my thoughts. I think it's still it is a long season, and I do trust that they're gonna be there in the end in the Eastern Conference. But the
Definitely.
same could go for the Heat, and the same could go for the Nets. The Bulls look really good. It's just where I'll believe it when I see it. When Brady falls off a cliff, LeBron, Chris Paul, whatever, in that direction, I'll believe it when I see it when the Bulls actually like win a playoff series.
Yes.
So it's like they look great, but I'm still like I'm holding my breath. I'm not holding my breath on them winning
Yeah.
going far. No disrespect to them. They look great and they're a lot of fun to watch. And they play really well together, and they're like a
Yeah.
highlight factory.
Yeah.
Um that's what I have to say about the 2 teams under the Brooklyn Nets, who I'm sure you have many thoughts on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm with you on Chicago. I should apologize to them because I was really low on them in the preseason, and they actually did better than I thought they would. I remember they had this one stretch of like 12 games. Like they started off hot, and everyone was like, "Oh, Chicago, Chicago," and you see they were beating like Orlando, Detroit twice, and I was like, "All right, man."
Boston.
Yeah, they beat Boston, and then I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Then they
That's
had like
a
a
masochist.
stretch where they beat the Nets, and they I think they beat the Clippers in that run, Dallas, and I was like, "Okay, all right, Chicago, they're
No,
better than I
those are
thought."
teams.
But that's still, like you said, we still should temper it when it comes to big picture Eastern Conference as far as Chicago making noise in the playoffs.
Right.
I still got to see it to believe it with that. But the Brooklyn Nets, I mean, man, Gabe, I don't even know where to start with these guys, bro. I mean, we could start with Durant, I guess. don't even have to really start with him. There's not much to be said. He's playing at an MVP level. Steph's the MVP of the league. I'm not even sure if I don't even know if we like threw that stat. Steph is the MVP in our Warriors segment, but he is as of right now.
He's
Steph
MVP
is,
right now.
Yeah, for sure. But Durant is right there, and the only reason Steph is because they have more wins and he outplayed him in that first game. This could change later on in the season. We'll see. But Steph got
KD's
that.
looked really good.
Yeah, KD's been awesome though.
To me, Steph's looked a little better, and I feel like
he has.
He's just so integral to I almost said the Patriots, the Warriors' success.
Yeah.
Durant is just as much to the Nets than they're just not winning as many games. Yeah. I'm talking about Steph off the court, on the court, in the huddle. Like, he just might be a little better of a leader than Durant.
I would agree with that.
We have evidence to support it.
Yeah, I would agree with
past
that.
evidence where Durant, love him as a player, have him higher on my all-time list than Steph. He just hasn't taken teams to the same heights. He's looked amazing. He looked amazing. Game 5, one of the best games I've ever seen a player play last year. He's looked amazing in series despite his teammates or whatever, but he hasn't raised their quality of play to the same way I've seen Steph do, or a few other guys.
Yeah, I'll say in regards to that. Yeah, I'll say,
my
man,
daddy.
No, I'll say this season, like the Warriors are just definitely a way better team than Brooklyn.
For sure.
But like in regards to that, because I think that system that Golden State plays in complements Steph way better than any system Durant has been in. Ironically enough, except Golden State, where he fit perfectly. I think the OKC system was just Westbrook doing nut shit. But I'll also agree with you in that Steph is a better teammate. He's definitely a better chemistry guy.
Yeah.
But as far as like the leading a team over the mountain,
the system that didn't look so great. The system doesn't look so great when Steph isn't playing.
Yeah, the system is
in the past few years.
The system is contingent on Steph because he's just the greatest shooter, and all his movement is what everything is based on.
Right, exactly. The attention he draws.
Yeah, it's crazy. But as far as Brooklyn and Durant, like he's been so great. He's playing 40 minutes every night, but it's the guy next to him that's really the main. I mean, the main story is the other guy who's on a mountain right now playing with a fucking ukulele, reading fucking horoscopes. But the other main story is Fat Boy Harden, and
still hot.
It's a combination
not the calls he wants to get.
Yeah, like I remember when we last talked about Brooklyn, I was telling you, Gabe, I'm starting to see some things. He had 34 and he got to the line 12 times.
Yeah.
Like I was a little optimistic in our last discussion about Brooklyn. Not the case this time. It's 2 games, he'll do good, and then the third game and it's usually against a good team, he'll just completely fall flat. Like the Phoenix game, Durant plays basically the whole game, has 39, 11, and 8. He's getting shots for guys. He's getting Cam Thomas, who I love, shots. He's finding Patty Mills. He's getting LaMarcus involved. I mean, he's doing everything. And you look at Harden, who had a triple-double, but it was like 12, 11, 10, whatever, some bullshit stat. Of course, the Harden feeds are going to be like, another
just the way they play. It's some guys just attract those types of stats.
Exactly.
I see the same thing about Luka. Like, these stats look impressive, but
can you win?
That's the nature of their game,
Yeah. No, it's fair. But in that Phoenix game, he was a complete mess. He was not getting by Bridges at all. No explosiveness. It's still the fishing for contact when he could have just easily, like, and a lot of the times, bro, he'll have the lane. If he was just to be aggressive enough and actually look to score, he'll have an easy layup. But he's always fishing for contact that's not there, or doing some weird flop because his mind has still not processed that, you can't play like this anymore. They're cracking down on this whole style of basketball that you exploited. He's still having difficulty adapting to that, and he still looks out of shape, which is, shout out Simmons again, but he always brings this up, like, you're a professional athlete and you're out of shape. That's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So man, he's not the James Harden that is the MVP type James Harden. And that's why Brooklyn is like, they're 15-6, but they've lost to Golden State. They lost to Phoenix. They lost to Chicago. Like, all their losses have been to good teams. They lost to Milwaukee.
Losses, it's not the Patriot. And I keep bringing up the Pats, but it's not.
Shout out to
that year, the last Super Bowl they won in 2019 season. Mm-hmm. All their losses in the regular season were against teams that weren't even making the playoffs.
Right.
So it's like, it's kind of, yes, that's not great, but it's also like, there's silly losses. You're beating yourself, where when you lose to a Golden State in your house, when you lose to a Milwaukee on opening night, when you lose to
Phoenix,
whoever
Chicago.
of
Yeah.
a certain level of team. It's like you were supposed to get up for this game and you lost. They beat you fair and square. You didn't beat yourself. You're not on their level. That's kind of what that says.
100%.
So yeah, I feel you on your Brooklyn worries you know, I feel you on Brooklyn.
Yeah,
But
no, you're right,
I
bro.
think they'll be fine in the end. Just it's a good roster. You get Cam Thomas,
Well, so yeah, I mean, I think they'll
Patty
be. I don't
Mills.
know. Actually, I don't know if they'll be fine because
Aldridge looks pretty good.
if this is like that's it, if this is the version of Harden we're getting for the
Yeah.
whole year, like if this is just who he is, I
Yeah.
mean, we've texted about this before. Not only does that drop him down dramatically on the all-time list,
Yeah.
I mean, like
Oh, right. Yeah.
dramatically,
Like falling
yeah.
out of the top 50 for sure.
Seriously, if he's just going to be 20 points and looking like a mess every other night, no way
Right.
he's a top guy like that.
Yeah.
If he's going to be that Harden, then man, Durant just doing this every night, as great as he is, as awesome as he is, you know, a lot of these guys on Brooklyn are guys that they had to get to complement what they thought was going to be a big three. It's like Aldridge is really just pick and
Yeah. Whose
pop
idea
mid
was that?
range.
You had a really good roster before that. You had Jared
Part of
Allen.
Durant's, honestly, this is where
He
could
wants
blame Durant
those
here.
guys to play with. He wants those studs by him. He wants those guys
Well,
next to him that he can take a night off.
Yeah, the biggest fatal mistake was the star he chose, the main guy, and it's Kyrie Irving. I mean, you choose a nut who we've seen the evidence in Cleveland. We've obviously seen it in Boston.
Mhm.
As talented as he is, as awesome as Kyrie is one of the more special players to watch as far as just what he does on a court.
Yeah.
We both agree with that. But when you choose a guy like that as your running mate, and then the third running mate is Harden,
Yeah.
man, that's kind of your fault. Like you brought these issues
Right.
upon yourself. As great as you
The
are,
evidence
as a
was
player.
there for all of this.
Right. Yeah.
And the evidence was there of Kyrie, not just like in Boston, but Brooklyn succeeding without him. You know, getting to the playoffs, going on a playoff run, building a culture there.
Right.
Even with a guy like D'Lo that not everybody's the biggest fan of. But, you know, Durant shows up. They have a phenomenal roster.
Amazing roster.
And him and Kyrie decide, we want Harden. We want this coach. We want to control this entire environment, much like LeBron in LA, where these superstars, they make these decisions, but they are good at basketball. They aren't good at being GMs.
Yeah. That's why people like these have jobs. That's why there's
which
jobs.
Is why I go back
GMs.
to another thing with Steph. Like, you know, he just like he plays with who's around him and everybody benefits off of it, where like guys like Durant, and I'm not saying Durant's trading these guys away. He just got there. It's not like LeBron trading away his boy D Wade in Cleveland. Like he's just got there. He doesn't have a personal relationship with Jared Allen, but like you had guys there, but you would rather have James Harden, where it's like, I thought you were KD. I thought you were that dude. Why can't you do this with really good role players like Steph is doing right now?
It honestly didn't make sense because they say when you hear Durant and Kyrie in those past interviews, they say like the reason they came to Brooklyn was because of the culture there, and then you trade away the culture that brought you there. Like all of that, you know, it was really weird. Like I get it, the version. I mean, we saw it last year when those three guys are on the court. It's something like we've never seen anything like that. Even the Warriors at their peak, that it was stupid what those three was doing when they were on the floor together, but. Yo, man, there's another side of that coin where it's a lot of toxic behavior. It's a lot of out of shape, you know, guys not really there mentally. And Durant, you're the guy who kind of eventually, like, you know, whatever the owner's name, I forgot his first name, but Sean Marks, they're talking to you, KD, when they sign off on these decisions. You're the guy they're looking at and getting the nod from before they make any of these major decisions. Like they won't just do nothing without his approval. So and yeah, man, he has blame in that. And if Kyrie's not going to return, and if this is going to be the same Harden, then they're going to be up there with Milwaukee. But it comes down to them in Milwaukee, I think, in the East. And I'll take the
more
Bucks.
well-oiled machine.
I'll take the Bucks over Brooklyn.
Yeah. And
so we'll see how this plays out.
It's still early though, and they look good, and they're winning. They're pulling out these games where they're not even playing that well.
Yeah,
which is good to see for them. But I say it every Brooklyn Nets conversation I've ever had. Going back to when they got those three guys. Yeah, they can, even before Harden showed up. Yeah, they'll be really good, but you wouldn't bet anything on them staying healthy, all three of those guys.
Yeah. Health or even non-health.
I would have never thought KD, the guy with the crazy injury, would be the guy who's been the
holding
most
it
durable
down.
in there the whole time. Where, Harden, can you rely on him in the playoffs? Can you rely on him at all at this point, injured
Yeah.
or not? And can you rely on Kyrie
No.
to not get in his go down a crazy rabbit hole or take a stand on some bullshit? No, you never
No.
could.
No.
He was going to find a way. We could not even be in a pandemic. He would find another reason to not play basketball. I'm telling you.
100%.
Telling you. So, yeah, it's my Brooklyn Nets rant.
Yeah, man. No, I share all those same sentiments. And yeah, they're a team that just they don't know their identity because I think they're so talented that they're gonna beat Orlando, they're gonna beat Boston, they're gonna beat fucking Charlotte on any random night. But when they come against the really good teams, that's when they look lost. And that just tells me like they don't really know their identity, which it makes sense because there was expectations going into the season. We're gonna have these three guys. One guy is obviously missing, the other dude is not himself, and leaves you with one great player versus three great players, which was the original vision. So,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't surprise me when they lose to Golden State, Phoenix,
Right.
Chicago, whoever. So, yeah, man, we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. Trying to think if there's any last Brooklyn thoughts I have. I don't think so. I mean,
Still a pretty good roster, man. Still a really good roster.
yeah, I'll say, I mean, it's tough now because Joe Harris is out 6 to 8 weeks. He has the ankle thing.
Oof.
Claxton has been a disaster. Like the roster, honestly, it's okay because Patty Mills has been great. He's been awesome. But like my thing is without Harden being who he is, like this roster just drops down so dramatically from a talent level. Like it really is low key, just KD, Patty Mills, fucking Cam Thomas has been okay, but like that's it. Like LaMarcus will get his, but it's not guys who. And when I see Brooklyn, it's like these dudes don't know what their role is.
Yeah, and
LaMarcus doesn't know if he's ISO or pick and roll or like he doesn't know his role.
And a guy we didn't talk about is in another issue they probably didn't expect after his big role in the playoffs last year was Blake's
bad news Blake. Yeah,
his diminished career.
They stopped
his
playing
career
him.
is he's on his last leg, and it didn't. He looked rejuvenated last year, but right now it just doesn't look good.
Yeah, no,
which is another reason.
Nash had to come to the realization that they just literally can't play him no more. Millsap's taking those minutes. That don't know how much better that's gonna be. So yeah, man, like the roster just with Harden being who he is right now, it's just not as good as most people would think. So that's why if you're a Brooklyn fan, or in my case, a KD/Brooklyn fan, it's cause for worry some. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe Kyrie gets vaccinated tomorrow. No, I'm just playing. That's never gonna happen. Yeah, man. We'll see how this plays out with them.
Yeah, those are the four teams we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, those are the big boys that matter.
Those are the big boys that matter. Of course, we're gonna be talking about different stuff every time we come on here, but it's always gonna be basketball related. It's always gonna be NBA related.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff we're gonna talk about. Again, there'll be evergreen episodes on this where we talk about past playoff, whatever.
Yeah.
Past NBA greats, all that stuff. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it on this podcast. Jay, a segment I want to do is every week we just pick out one play that just wowed us during the week, or dating back to whatever before the last podcast. I want to call it Zooey Mama, because when I see a crazy play, I go Zooey Mama. What made me go Zooey Mama this week was DeMar DeRozan, just going behind the back, spin move into a nice sweet J. He's looked great. I had to name drop him earlier when you were talking about guys with just crazy mid-range shots. He's looked awesome in Chicago.
Yes,
that was just a really nice play that wowed me. Go check it out. Maybe I'll throw it on our Instagram and our TikTok. It was really sweet. Anything come to mind for you?
So
I mean, you mentioned that 8 pass earlier. Anything else?
That play was pretty crazy. Another play that was nuts was this one play, man. I hate to have to bring up Kevin Durant, but I have to. And maybe I'll throw two at you. That's not KD, but I just remember this one play KD had where he quick crossover, shakes the defender, and then he takes like these two long strides where his one foot is almost pointing towards like the right 3-point corner, and then he immediately takes another step left, takes another long step to basically Manhattan because his fucking legs are that long. And then he gets fouled and just throws up this kind of prayer, but kind of looks like he was kind of, it was this alien Euro step that just stood out to me. And I guess another play was the Marcus Smart bang that he had last night.
Yeah.
As much as long as we obviously know how much
Yeah.
stress Marcus Smart brings to both of us, but that
Probably
bang
talk
was
about
kind
him
of
again
crazy.
on the connection.
Yeah, no, we will have some thoughts that aren't as positive, but that was a pretty crazy dunk. Oh, JTA had a crazy dunk, so I just gave you three,
Yeah. I
which
saw
is
that.
ridiculous. But
Not completely. Like he didn't completely dunk on McGee. You know, it was sort of
did
like
you
a
see
dunk
McGee?
drive by.
Yeah, it wasn't a poster. And then McGee,
Yeah.
did you see he quote tweeted it? And it seemed to kind of
What do you say?
sarcastic. He was like, "Oh, that's so great. I'll sign it for you or something." I think he was being sarcastic, but then again, I
Yeah.
don't know. McGee's goofy. He might have been
Whatever.
serious. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a guy where I don't know. Well, I'll save McGee for another time, actually.
Remember when
Go on a
Shaq was
20-minute McGee conversation.
Do you remember when
When he
Shaq
was
was
bullying
bullying
him?
him and it turned into like a serious thing?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no reason. There was no reason for any of that, man.
Shaq was weird for that,
Yeah,
man.
Shaq does weird stuff every year, honestly.
He really does.
Like
But
the Mitchell thing last year.
oh, what was yeah, and then what
He
was
was
he
just I
just
forget what he
randomly
said,
came
but
at Mitchell for no
he's just like
reason.
basically just like you're a pussy.
Yo, man, those are really some
And it was
old
after a
uncles,
win.
bro.
It was after a win. They were interviewing Mitchell after
Yeah,
a win.
he's like
So
playing at an all-star level and shit.
yeah,
He sucks. He's soft.
yeah. So you're not me.
Yeah, he's not dominant. Google me, Chuck. Oh man. Yeah, I guess that could wrap up our talk though,
Yeah.
Gabe. We could
First podcast we ever did under an hour.
yeah, literally. Well, I'm 56 minutes. We said we'd keep it under an hour. We did just that. So yeah, guys, like, subscribe, tap into the main show, Richie and Michael Connection. New episode coming this week.
Yeah, it will be out. Normally it's out Tuesday. This one will be out later on Tuesday. So possibly Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, because a lot of our listeners are Patriots fans. Even if you're not, Bills Patriots is a pretty big game for Monday night. So we don't want to record before that. We're gonna record the day after, gather our thoughts. We'll do some Celtics talk. We'll do some more NBA talk on the pod. But please, yeah, keep tuning in. Follow us on all the social medias and share this podcast. And we thank you for listening.